Hello, in this video I'll be reviewing the first book in the Skyward trilogy, Skyward. So this is a book I've actually read before, but I came back and reread it, which, already tells you something about how good it is. So, spoiler-free review, this book is really, really solid. It's kind of showing off kind of everything that's good about Brandon Sanderson. I almost feel like without some of the bad, which perhaps I'll talk about a bit later in some of his other books, but it's just a really strong showing from Brandon Sanderson. It's fast-paced, it's dynamic, different things are happening, different characters, with one strong central character that you stick with. So, it's not epic fantasy or anything like that with multiple different perspectives. It's just one character, you stick with them there, and you're happy to stick with them because it's cool to see them grow and it's cool to see them develop. And basically, we just have a very strong sci-fi story with a lot of mystery, a lot of intrigue, and it's really lots of action as well. And yeah, it's just really cool, and it starts well, and it actually just gets better and better and better. And in typical Brandon Sanderson fashion, it ends with really well, ends with a bang, so to speak. So spoiler-free review is this is a really good book, and you should definitely read it. So yes, and from here on out there'll be some spoilers, so just be aware of that. But this book, I guess we'll just go from kind of then go through the categories. So in terms of character, I think that this book does really well. So our main character Spencer, it's quite cool to be in her head. She's interesting, she's fun. She's a bit kind of, crazy. She says funny things every now and again, but it's actually cool. It makes her an interesting character to get inside the head of. This is not a boring cookie cutter protagonist, as you might see in some other franchises. This is an interesting, dynamic person with their own perspective on things, which has been shaped by their childhood. And we see that. We get a flashback at the start of her childhood. We kind of see how she's treated, and we see how she's developed into this person. So it's very cool to kind of see that and be in her head for that. But it's also cool to see how she changes, and be in her head for those changes as well. So our main character, I think, is really, really strong. Funny, cool, brave, cool character. It's also interesting to have such a well-written female lead from a male author. I mean, look, I'm also a guy as well, so I'm not necessarily the most qualified to be talking about how well-written females are, or women are, but it does just feel, it feels more human. It feels good, as opposed to some other authors who, when they write female characters or woman characters, then you're just like, is this a human being? Do you know what I mean? So really good on that perspective. So our main character is great. Then our supporting cast characters is quite good as well. We have kind of Spencer, that's our main character. We have her kind of flight mates, who are all relatively well. There's a couple that die early on. They don't get too much development, but of course they die early on. So what do you want? And then, and basically the rest of them are, really strong, well developed. They've got their own individual personalities, and you really feel it when some casualties are taken throughout the book. So yeah, the rest of her flight is really good. Then we kind of have our supporting cast characters, like the adult characters. So we have Admiral Ironsides, who's sort of the antagonist, but it's even hard to call her an antagonist because she's kind of doing her best. You know what I mean? Like, she's been through some tough stuff. So basically, Spencer's dad betrays her, in the prologue, and so she's like, she doesn't want this to happen again, which is kind of understandable, to be honest. So while she's an antagonist to Spencer, she's not really a bad person as such. She's just a person put in a very tough situation, and we actually get to see this. I think Brandon Sanderson does very well because we have Spencer. We spend 99% of our time in her head, but every now and again we get these interludes, and we get to spend some time in the head of Admiral Ironsides, and we get to see how she feels, and she feels guilt and stress and all these things, and it really humanizes her. So even though she's kind of put in the way of our main character, she's not really a bad person or anything like that. So I thought she was really strong. Then the other really strong character I wanted to mention is Cobb, who's their kind of teacher, mentor figure, and I think he's really cool as well. He's just kind of this like grizzled, supporting older guy, kind of like a friendly uncle or like a gruff uncle type character, and I think he really works in that role. And then yeah, so to move, and then we've got her mum and her grandma, who are kind of, now they're not the strongest characters, but we don't spend that much time with them. You know what I mean? Like we get just a little bit of time with these characters, and they don't get them. They're kind of a little bit, particularly the grandma is kind of a little bit archetypal, where it's like that like old wizened grandma who has all the wisdom and tells you stuff. But with that said, it works. It's fine. There's a reason why that's an archetype, and it's not bad. So yeah, so that's our characters. And then to get into plot, I think that this book functions really well, kind of like so there's kind of two sides to this book that I think push the plot along, or there's kind of three sides. So there's kind of Spencer's personal plot of her growing as a person, and her trying to figure, and her like becoming a pilot and go through training and all that sort of stuff, and I think that works really well. And then there's the kind of action side of things, which Spencer fighting people in these fighter planes, which and dealing with these aliens and stuff, which I think is really cool, and I really enjoy that action, and I think it's very well written action. You might think that a book might not be the best medium for epic fighter battles, right? You might want to move that, and perhaps you do, but I think that Brandon Sanderson actually really makes it pop in book form. It really gives us this action in a way that you can kind of visualize and see it in your head and like, damn, that's cool, you know. So there's kind of an action thing going on, but then there's also the mystery plot, which I actually really like, where there's lots of mysteries going on. There's like, what happened to Spencer's dad? You know, why did he betray people? What's going on for aliens? Why are these aliens just randomly attacking? You know, all these cool kind of mysteries. What is this planet? Why is there just random junk around? And why is this planet dead? What are the people even doing here? All these kind of cool sci-fi type mysteries. And you get it in fantasy as well, you know. But I think sci-fi really lends itself well to this, because we know that in sci-fi, at least in this sort of sci-fi, Earth existed and people existed in their current form as we do now, and then somehow we got to this, and so all these questions become really kind of pertinent, because it's like, well, what happened to us, you know? And so I think my favourite part of the story is actually that kind of mystery thing, trying to get these answers. And that does lead into, so yeah, in terms of plot and character, I really like it. Setting, as well, I think was quite cool. I really like this planet of detritus, where there's kind of these underground areas, people live underground, but they're kind of slowly reclaiming the surface, and there's like junk around the planet, and there's space, and there's kind of, you know, they fight. And then there's almost like 3 different layers, because, right, there's the underground area, there's the ground, and then there's the air where they actually fight. So I feel like the setting is like, it is literally and figuratively layered. So I really enjoyed that as well. But I'll just get into one. Now I'm putting this at the end of the video, because I click away now if you just want go read this book, right? But I will say there's one slight criticism I had, which, you know how I was talking about how I really like this mystery stuff. At the end of the book, Spencer flies up to space, and she kind of gets all the answers in one kind of go. Like, her little computer thing just like kind of hacks their system, and then the alien system, and we just kind of get all the answers. Like, okay, this is why we're on the planet. This is what happened to the dad. This is, you know, this is why the aliens are doing this. This is why they're here. This is who they are. And it kind of just felt like a bit of a dump of all this information. I felt like there could have been a better way. Maybe it could have been given more slowly or in a different way or something. It just felt a little bit unsatisfying. But that's a very small criticism in the grand scheme of things. Because if you have, you know, 380 pages of fantastic book and then a couple of pages of slightly weaker stuff, I mean, you know, it's not the end of the world at all. So yeah, I would very thoroughly recommend this book. And just as a side note, kind of reviews over here, and I'm just talking here. But I really think that this book and the series, so I'm reading the second one now, is perhaps some of the most adaptable stuff that Brandon Sanderson's ever written, in terms of this could be a movie so easily, bro. Like a screenwriter would have the easiest job with this, ever. You just kind of very quickly, you know, cut a few things, adapt it a little bit, and then put a bunch of cool starfighters on screen. You know, a bunch of cool fighter planes on screen. I mean, this sort of stuff, it kind of writes itself. It's just Top Gun, sci-fi Top Gun, with a female lead and with a woman leading it. And I like it. I mean, I really think that this. Like, if you're a film director, this is easy money. You know, it's an established author, established property, and just so easy to adapt. I would think, right? I mean, you could just chuck this on a silver screen right now. But yeah, that's just a quick aside. Honestly, really recommend this book, and really recommend this series as well. I'm enjoying the second book as well. So yeah, pick it up and give it a read, and thanks for watching.